All right. Well, tonight we have some pretty cool news from James O'Keefe. So it looks like this guy's been getting back into the habit of dressing up for his undercover reporting. This time around, he decided to go explore some hotel or motel out in Arizona that's being used as essentially I guess, a covert migrant processing center. We got the description of it basically here in the title of this YouTube video they released, about 20 minutes long. There's a longer, about 2 hour podcast that he did a conversation about, but for now, we'll just use scenes from this to kind of capture the main point. Essentially, he infiltrated, well, quotes on infiltrate, secret converted illegal immigrant compound, Casa Alitas, this place called the Ramada Hotel. All right, so essentially that's what's going on. So basically, here's the deal. There are buses that show up to this hotel quite frequently. They drop off a bunch of illegal immigrants. The immigrants go into the hotel. They are essentially processed by the people that are working it, and then they are sent out to various places across the country. Places like Houston. That was one of the places discussed within the video itself. Let's see. So O'Keefe Media Group, James O'Keefe essentially had several ways of trying to get information. So number one of the ways was he dressed up as a drunk homeless guy, basically asking a bunch of dumb questions, kind of trying to get the people guarding it to answer questions. And people guarding it appeared to be like local cops to some degree. Like they looked like they were law enforcement. Second, what we also got going on, the other people that he had going there, he got Ashley St. Clair to essentially go up and ask those cops who were guarding the place. She asked them questions. Um, yeah, it was a pretty good piece overall. So they weren't very quick to talk to James O'Keefe because apparently, like, they don't want to talk to some drunk homeless guy. And eventually, he does reveal who he is, and they call the cops on him for essentially trespassing, which doesn't make sense because he's not trespassing. And at least, certainly not in my opinion. Nothing would indicate that he is, but they said that he was. In any case, Ashley St. Clair also approached them undercover. She pretended to be working with some sort of ministry ranch that was looking to help process the migrants. And then there was a third way that he tried to get information about it. That included using a what would you call it? An undercover reporter. So he got this person to pose as a migrant, or maybe it was a migrant who was willing to cooperate with James O'Keefe and wear a body camera, and he actually managed to get inside the hotel, ask a bunch of questions. Really, it was pretty good work. Ask questions about who's setting this up, who's running the money. So you have groups that are like the Red Cross that are implicated in this. You essentially have the government that's implicated in this. You have the local police that are implicated in this. And this is honestly, in my opinion, some really great reporting that he's done, some great journalism. That's essentially the gist of what happened. I don't really want to play any audio from this. I'm not really sure what the copy strikes are, but I'll just kind of scroll through the scenes of what's going on. So let's see if we can find some good shots of the interior. Here we are. So essentially, this is a picture from the interior of the place. There are tons of cots spread out. This is where they sleep. They come in here, they pick up airplane tickets, and they're sent all across the country. They're given enough money to help get them there and sustain themselves for a little bit. This is all part of the legal immigration process going on. Whenever you try to approach the people, like here's James approaching. Oh, there we go. We missed it. Let's go back a little bit. There we are. All right. So he's basically asking them who these people are. Like, this is the name of one of the people that was involved. This is the Tucson Police Department. Kristen Moritz. Essentially, he's just asking her who she is, but, pretending like he's a drunk guy. Like, who's working this place? What's going on? All pretty interesting stuff, I'd say. It confirms what a lot of people have been saying so far, that various Catholic charities have been involved in smuggling human beings across the country. That we have the government essentially using CBP as a means to try and actually ship illegal immigrants across the country as well. It confirms a lot of things that people have been saying so far. So it's just, another grain of sand in the heap. But now we get to see like the faces of people who are actually involved in this, and he chose not to blur their faces. Kind of interesting when you think about it. Let's see if we can find the tweet that I had pulled up from him. Scroll down. This is him talking about it. All right. So these are the officers that he was talking about that were involved in his footage. So you had a Tucson Police Department and you had the local sheriff's county. So these guys are with the sheriff's are with the sheriff department. So you have Deputy Carter and then Officer Sean Martin. Come on, can we switch to the next one? There we go. Then we have Officer Diaz Menendez and Officer M. Moritz. I thought it said Kristen Moritz elsewhere. Maybe that's just what she's called. I'm not sure. But he gets their badge numbers and he basically says, I'm going to FOIA request the body camera footage that you have. And these two cops were essentially, or at least she was essentially walking around acting as security or as a guard for the place, making sure that nobody came in and asked questions. Let's see. Where is it? And this all comes on top of the border deal that we recently had. It finally got killed, but we had essentially Senator Cruz pointing out all these things that were wrong with it. Basically, it allows 1.8 million illegal immigrants annually into America. 1.8 million. I think it might be as high as 3 million, but 1.8 million is still far too many, in my opinion. Codifies the Mayorkas policy of essentially doing catch and release. It's 1.4 billion for nonprofit organizations that are directly related to bringing in illegal immigrants, and expands work permits so illegals can compete with American workers. All problems if you actually care about protecting Americans first. Ay. Lots of problems in the country, lots of corruption. This is really just a stellar piece of reporting. I'm going to keep scrolling through it, see if I can jog a memory of any more interesting points. Yeah, Caesar. That's the name of the guy who they got to go in, or at least that's what they're saying his name is. It may not be his real name. Probably isn't. Probably an alias to protect his identity for cooperating with them. Here's the end. So the end gets more interesting. Wait, nope. Pause. We don't want you to move. So yeah, this is basically James. So this is one of the guys from the sheriff's department back here behind his hand. Let's see if we can move the frames just a little bit so we can get a clearer look. All right, there we go. So that's his face right there. Now going back to his tweet or his X post, whatever you want to call it. This is, what's his name? Deputy Carter. That's the one who he's talking to right now. Basically, so the security cops called the sheriff's department out to get James O'Keefe and his guys out of there. And so after that, man, they called the sheriff's department on him for trespassing. The sheriff's department shows up and they basically tell James, you can't go on there because they say it's trespassing. Basically, stay off the property line and we're good. And James is basically pointing out, this place is being used to traffic illegal immigrants. Like, you have buses coming in and out all day long. There's a bus of illegal immigrants right behind you. Like, right there, in the camera shot right there. He's actively telling the guy right now, behind you on that bus is a bunch of illegal immigrants. The guy just doesn't even turn around. So I think I find it really hard to believe that these guys aren't directly involved or receiving some sort of a payoff or have some sort of reason to look the other way and allow this to continue happening. Which was really the only logical explanation as to why we have such out-of-control borders, is that we have problems on the inside of the country that are essentially facilitating it, and so you have to find out who these people are and purge them from any sort of authority, investigate them, and then imprison them if they're found guilty of committing crimes. All super corrupt stuff. The end of this video was really interesting, though. So apparently there's more that he wants to report on. There's a camp on the other side of the border, it sounds like. There are armed guards actively protecting it. Like, people walking around with guns. Their undercover journalist is in that camp. So his plan, according to him, is to drive up there about 50 yards from the camp and ask for his guy to come out, get in the car, and drive away. Which is really scary because it sounds like cartel guys are... I am guessing that cartel guys are guarding this camp. And what that means, if you're a journalist there, reporting on cartel activity, is they're going to want revenge on you for basically trying to expose their operation, do anything to hurt them. So, yeah. I mean, modern journalism is an entire mess, but you have guys like James O'Keefe, and you have this person who's willing to go in there with guys with guns looking around, protecting his place. These people are actually brave and real journalists, so lots of respect for this. I mean, these are kind of the risks that ordinary people wouldn't take. I don't even know if I'd want to take that level of risk on, but what this reporting does is it's extremely valuable and important for people to know, and exposing this helps a lot in terms of the national conversation, in terms of pointing out all the problems that have originated and are being pushed by, essentially, enabled by the Democrats who are probably making money off it, and a lot of the Republicans who seem lackluster in terms of their ability to do anything, especially when you consider that 3 of them couldn't even have the spine to impeach Mayorkas yesterday. Anyhow, that's the story for tonight. Just wanted to talk about this. This was a pretty groundbreaking thing. Probably going to hear more about it tomorrow morning. Seems a bit early for people to talk about it because I got released late at night. So, it's a Wednesday night. Or it got released yesterday afternoon. Thursday morning, probably going to get picked up and talked about. Friday, news kind of dies down. Go into the weekend, people forget. And we're going into the Super Bowl anyway. So this will be a great piece of conversation to have around the Super Bowl time. Kind of hoping that he holds off until his next piece of reporting until after the Super Bowl. Gotta double check that Super Bowl date. When exactly is it? I am not a sports guy. That is just not my thing. Yep, coming up soon. Still got plenty of time, like I thought. Basically, this weekend. But yeah, Super Bowl's probably going to dominate tons and tons of airtime. That's going to be pretty unfortunate in terms of getting this story out, because this story is definitely more important than the bread and circuses of football, of baseball, of any sport really. This stuff actually matters. Probably going to get more bread and circuses when we get to the Olympics. Although the Olympics gets more interesting because you get to talk about international politics a little bit. Swimming's kind of fun because you have the Australian swimmers who are never afraid to call out the Chinese and Russian swimmers for being, drug cheats. That's always fun. But yeah, that's the main gist for tonight. Thanks for listening. Consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment if you think there's something that got missed or something that should be brought up. Have a good night. Stay safe. Bye.